Imagine, if you will, standing right on the precipice, on the edge of this vast, um, terrifying abyss.
Okay.
You peer into the unfathomable void, your heart's pounding, and there beside you stand two figures, formidable figures.
Right.
Both gaze into the same deep darkness, but what they see, what they discern within its depths, well, it could not be more different.
Completely different visions.
And this isn't just, a polite academic disagreement. It is a fundamental, deeply emotional, almost visceral clash. A clash about how to face the most profound, the most unsettling questions of our existence.
Yeah, the big ones.
Today, we are plunging headfirst into that intellectual maelstrom, right into the philosophical storm brewed by two titans of thought, Friedrich Nietzsche and Fyodor Dostoevsky.
Two giants, absolutely.
Born in the same tumultuous era, yet hailing from worlds that couldn't have been more disparate. Poles apart, really.
Completely. Different lives, different experiences.
But they both acutely felt the seismic tremors of a collapsing European soul. They sensed the very ground shifting beneath humanity's feet, the erosion of old certainties.
They really did. Our mission in this deep dive, then, is to meticulously unpack their intensely emotional, profoundly contrasting responses to what they both saw as the death of those old certainties.
Right.
We want to explore, with all the vividness it deserves, how they grappled with the terrifying, yet, let's face it, undeniably beautiful burden of human freedom.
Terrifying and beautiful, that's key.
Exactly. We'll dissect their arguments as if they were right there, engaged in a direct, passionate debate across time, almost like a spiritual wrestling match.
Ooh, I like that image.
And then, crucially, we'll try to illuminate what their timeless, really piercing insights mean for you, for us, right here, today.
Now, you might be thinking, why should you, navigating the chaos of the 21st century, care about two 19th century philosophers?
It's a fair question.
Well, as we'll uncover, the monumental questions they wrestled with, questions about freedom, about meaning, about the very essence of the human spirit, when that old declaration, God is dead, began to really resonate. Those questions are echoing louder than ever in our own turbulent, often uncertain times. They speak directly to the anxieties and maybe the exhilarating possibilities we face right now.
Making their debate feel startlingly current.
Yeah.
It really does.
Indeed. So we'll journey first through Dostoevsky's searing vision of freedom, where it's portrayed not as some liberating gift, but as a potent, potentially corrosive poison.
Poison? Wow.
Yeah, pushing humanity toward madness, maybe self-destruction, or, the destruction of others. We'll delve into the raw human cost he perceived in that freedom.
Right.
Then we'll shift our focus to Nietzsche's audacious, almost electrifying call. His call to embrace freedom as a monumental challenge, an invitation to create new values, to sculpt oneself, and ultimately to become something more than merely human.
More than human, the Übermensch. Precisely. It's a true dialogue across the abyss, highlighting their shared recognition of this existential pain, this void, but revealing their utterly, irreconcilably different cures for it.
Different medicines for the same sickness?
You got it. It's a clash not just of ideas, but of fundamental human experience, of aspiration, of, soul, the shared precipice, a paradox of vision.
Okay, so let's start by setting the scene for this profound encounter. Despite their vastly different lives, their backgrounds, both Nietzsche and Dostoevsky shared this profound, almost visceral feeling, the sense that Europe was teetering on a brink.
On the edge of something huge and unknown.
Exactly. They both intuited the crumbling of old truths, the weakening grip of the church, and this relentless, seemingly unstoppable march of rationalism, which was eroding the very foundations of traditional faith, of conventional morality. It was a shared, almost prophetic sense of impending collapse.
A cultural tectonic shift, that's a good way to put it. And what becomes immediately compelling here is their shared diagnosis of this moment.
Right, the diagnosis.
They both observed that humanity was, maybe for the first time on such a grand scale, being left alone with its own radical freedom.
Radical freedom.
A concept they both recognized as simultaneously terrifying and exquisitely beautiful in its raw potential.
That duality again.
And this realization, it really compels us to consider a fundamental human dilemma. How does one truly react, emotionally, spiritually, existentially, when the very bedrock of their world, the certainties they've always relied upon, just begins to crack?
Cracking and giving way beneath them.
Yeah, it's a question that demands a deep personal response,
Absolutely. And for Nietzsche, this abyss, this void left by crumbling truths, It wasn't a place of despair or lamentation,
Yeah.
not at all.
No, quite the opposite for him.
On the contrary, it was a defiant, almost exhilarating call to action. You can almost hear him shouting across the intellectual landscape, "Who dares to create new values if the old ones have died?"
A challenge.
A huge challenge. For him, it wasn't a time for mourning. It was an invitation, a monumental challenge to build something entirely new, something radically authentic, self-authored, right from the ruins.
From the ashes, yeah. It was about audacious creation, an affirmation of human will, not resignation.
Exactly.
Dostoevsky, though, he experienced this same precipice very differently. Not as a creative opportunity, but as a profound, agonizing test of the human soul itself.
A test of the soul.
His question, born of a different kind of anguish, was starkly different. Who, he asks, who can withstand freedom if God has withdrawn?
Challenge.
For him, it was a harrowing trial of human resilience against an overwhelming spiritual vacuum, a deep sense of abandonment that he believed could easily lead to utter spiritual desolation.
A profound inner collapse.
The stakes, for Dostoevsky, were nothing less than the soul's survival. It was that serious for him.
And just think for a moment about their lives, how starkly they contrasted, yet how deeply they both connected to the shared tremor in the human spirit.
It's fascinating.
Nietzsche, for instance, spent much of his time among the serene, majestic peaks of the Swiss Alps, immersed in rigorous German scholarship.
Discipline, order, solitude.
And his writing style kind of mirrored this environment, didn't it? It was like a flash of lightning, short, sharp, aphoristic, designed to cut through convention.
Illuminate with startling clarity. Yeah, his words had an almost shocking, electric directness, striking at the heart of established thought.
It really did cut deep.
Dostoevsky, though, what a powerful contrast. His life was steeped in the grinding poverty, the pervasive dampness, the existential mud of St. Petersburg.
A world away.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And his prose reflected this gritty, suffering reality.
Good.
His words flowed slowly, painfully, often with this raw, almost agonizing sincerity. Like blood from a wound, someone said.
Wow.
Imbued with the suffering and spiritual anguish he witnessed and experienced daily.
So visceral.
Yet despite their disparate worlds, their vastly different temperaments, their environments, both of them felt the same profound, inescapable seismic shift in human consciousness.
It's incredible they both tuned into it so strongly.
They were, in their own unique ways, responding to the same deep wound in the fabric of existence, just with vastly different prescriptions for healing, too. Dostoevsky's Abyss. The burden of freedom.
Okay, let's immerse ourselves even deeper now into Dostoevsky's world, this reality that so profoundly shaped his philosophical outlook.
Let's do it.
Imagine mid-19th century St. Petersburg, a city of damp, oppressive stone courtyards where the chill just permeated everything, a place of inescapable, pervasive poverty.
You can almost feel it.
Would walk those streets, see faces etched with hardship, with desperation, eyes burning not just from deprivation, but, from the numbing effects of alcohol, too.
A grim picture.
This visceral atmosphere, this constant, almost overwhelming human suffering, it deeply permeated and shaped every aspect of his philosophical lens. It makes his concerns feel incredibly grounded, urgent, almost a plea from the depths of human pain.
And this is where Dostoevsky's personal history intertwines so powerfully with his philosophy. Because he didn't just write about hell. He quite literally walked through it. I mean, at the incredibly young age of 28, he was arrested. Involvement in the Petrushevsky Circle, this group of utopian socialists.
Right, the arrest.
And what followed wasn't just some bureaucratic process.
Yeah.
He was condemned to death, a sentence that was absolutely real.
Not a drill.
Not a drill at all.
Yeah.
He was led to the execution stake, stood there shackled, hearing the firing squad prepare their weapons, the chilling click of their rifles.
Unimaginable.
Only for a last-minute reprieve to be dramatically announced, just moments before.
Wow. Talk about psychological torture.
Absolutely. His sentence was then commuted to 4 brutal years of katorga hard labor in Siberia.
Katorga.
And this wasn't just physical hardship. It was a profound stripping away of his social identity, his external validation, his hope. It forced an encounter with the most primal, unadorned elements of the self.
Stripped bare.
He lived among murderers, hardened convicts, stripped of absolutely everything but his bare soul, as he put it, encountering humanity at its most raw, its most unvarnished.
What an experience. It's almost impossible to truly grasp the psychological, the spiritual toll that must have taken. To stand at the precipice of death and then be thrust into such a brutal existence.
No kidding.
And it was there, wasn't it? Amidst that absolute deprivation, that he came to this chilling, almost terrifying realization
Yes, the
that
paradox.
freedom, paradoxically, could be far scarier than the chains that bound him.
Scarier than chains. It wasn't just an intellectual concept for Dostoevsky. It was a truth seared into his very being through profound, agonizing suffering. A truth born from the absolute depths of human experience.
You feel it in his writing.
You do. He understood with this almost painful clarity that you can forbid everything, you can break the body, impose any physical constraint imaginable,
Uh-huh.
but you cannot fundamentally take away freedom of thought. That inner freedom remains.
The last refuge.
Exactly. And within this internal unassailable freedom, most dangerous, most unsettling question inevitably emerges, burning with this almost existential intensity. What if God does not exist?
The ultimate question.
For him, this wasn't some theoretical exercise. It was a living, burning question that demanded an answer from the very core of one's being. And it forces us to consider, if there's no ultimate divine authority, no absolute moral framework beyond us, what then truly guides our inner compass?
Our sense of right and wrong, meaning
Purpose.
all of it. In a world suddenly devoid of those external anchors, what's left?
And Dostoevsky's magnificent, sprawling novels are more than just stories, aren't they? They're like a profound philosophical
That's
laboratory,
a great way to describe it.
filled with characters, vibrant and tormented, who are grappling with this exact abyss, with the terrifying implications of this very question.
His works become a living exploration of the human soul under the pressure of such radical freedom.
Absolutely.
Precisely. Consider, for instance, Kirillov from Demons, a character so consumed by the idea of becoming divine in a godless world
Yeah, Kirillov.
that he decides to prove his ultimate freedom, his self-mastery, by taking his own life. His act isn't despair, it's a cold, intellectual assertion of absolute autonomy.
Chilling logic. Or Stravagin, another figure from Demons, a man of immense charisma, power, who seeks meaning in every possible pleasure, every domination.
But finds
An overwhelming, chilling emptiness at his core. A void that consumes him despite all his external accomplishments.
the void again.
And of course, there's the iconic Ivan Karamazov from the Brothers Karamazov, his profound, brilliant intellectual arguments about freedom without God, particularly his famous Grand Inquisitor parable.
A masterpiece within a masterpiece.
It really is. But those very arguments ultimately drive him, tragically, to the brink of madness. His reason shatters under the unbearable weight of his own conclusions.
The terror of freedom without God, literally soul-destroying for Ivan.
Exactly. For Dostoevsky, you see, freedom without God isn't a liberation. It transforms into a potent, corrosive poison.
Poison, he keeps coming back to that.
He does. It inevitably leads, in his view, either to self-destruction, a turning inward to annihilate oneself, or the destruction of others. An outward projection of that internal chaos, that moral vacuum.
There's such an incredible, almost suffocating emotional weight to this idea, a sense of profound human vulnerability to the very thing we often cherish most, freedom.
And his only perceived way out, his only enduring escape from this terrifying dilemma, his response to this potential for human dissolution, it was through a radically different ideal,
Which was?
one rooted in profound humility and unconditional love. For Dostoevsky, Christ wasn't merely a theological figure or just a historical personage.
No, he was more.
He was the living, breathing embodiment of perfected humanity, the ultimate expression of what it means to be fully human.
Perfected humanity.
He wasn't advocating for a Superman in the Nietzschean sense, someone transcending others through strength, but rather a perfected man, someone who embodies absolute self-giving, complete self-sacrifice, boundless, suffering compassion for others, even at the cost of his own life.
Self-giving, sacrifice, compassion.
That was the core for him.
So, if we distill this, if we boil it down, what does this all mean for us, for anyone grappling with the meaning of freedom today? Dostoevsky's warning is stark, isn't it? Delivered with this urgency that just transcends centuries.
It really is.
Beware, he's saying, without God you will not endure freedom. It will burn you from within, consuming your very soul.
A truly chilling thought. It speaks to a deep primal fear, I think. A fear of our own unbridled nature, of the chaos that might lie just beneath the thin veneer of civilization.
Absolutely, a profound warning. 3. Nietzsche's lightning, the challenge of the Overman. Okay, now let's pivot sharply, dramatically, really. Let's turn to Friedrich Nietzsche.
All right, Nietzsche.
His backdrop was entirely different from Dostoevsky's Petersburg grime, right? Not the squalid, suffocating streets,
No, far from it.
but the quiet, imposing majesty of the Swiss Alps, the rigorous intellectual environment of German universities, the solitude of vast libraries, and a profound, often self-imposed isolation.
A scholar's life, in many ways.
Yet, despite these utterly contrasting circumstances, he too felt that same profound tremor. The world of old truths collapsing around him. He too heard the echo of foundations cracking.
He absolutely did. But here, and this is crucial, here's where their emotional responses, their very spiritual DNA, just diverged so profoundly.
The great split.
Where Dostoevsky desperately sought salvation, a refuge
Yeah.
in the presence of God, Nietzsche, witnessing his death, saw not an end, but the beginning. The beginning of an entirely new, almost terrifyingly exhilarating path.
Exhilarating.
A dramatic rupture with all past certainties. This wasn't just a nuanced difference. It was an absolute fundamental split in how to react to the same foundational crisis. One born of despair, perhaps, the other of defiance.
Defiance is a good word for Nietzsche.
It is.
And that phrase, God is dead, it often sounds, to modern ears, like a defiant pronouncement, maybe even a celebration of human autonomy.
People often take it that way.
But for Nietzsche, it was far from a triumph, wasn't it? It was a profound, deeply felt tragedy, a momentous event with immense consequences.
He wasn't cheering. He was acknowledging a profound loss. He wrote with this almost agonizing sense of shared guilt. We killed him, you and I. We're all murderers.
Powerful words.
For Nietzsche, God is dead wasn't a simple celebration of atheism. It was a profound observation about the irreversible decline of absolute, divinely sanctioned values, of a universally accepted moral framework in Western society.
The end of an era.
The end of a comforting illusion, maybe. A shattering of shared meaning.
So it wasn't a party for him.
Not at all. It was a sober, almost crushing acknowledgement that absolute values, all the ready-made rules, all the eternal comforting certainties that humanity had leaned on for millennia, they were simply gone.
Vanished.
Everything that had seemed timeless, immutable, divinely sanctioned had, in an instant, become an illusion, a human construct. And this compels us to consider a monumental question, one that echoes right through our own times. If we, collectively, have metaphorically killed God, dismantled these old structures of meaning, what immense responsibility do we now bear for the void that inevitably follows, and for the courageous creation of something new to fill it?
What is our obligation? To ourselves, to the future.
Exactly. What now?
And instead of succumbing to despair, which, let's be honest, would have been an entirely understandable human reaction,
Very understandable.
Nietzsche demanded something else, an almost superhuman courage. If God is no longer there to provide prepackaged meaning, then humanity itself, collectively, individually, must become the audacious creator of its own meaning.
A radical call to self-authorship.
Yes, a demand that each individual become an artist of their own existence, crafting their purpose from the raw material of life itself.
And this is precisely the crucible from which his revolutionary idea of the Overman, the Übermensch, is born.
The Übermensch.
An idea that is so frequently misunderstood, isn't it? Often simplified into images of a brutal dictator, a cruel master.
That's the common cliché.
But for Nietzsche, the Overman was not a tyrant. They were an artist of life, an individual capable of creating entirely new values, of affirming their own fierce will to life, and crucially, of saying a resounding yes, even to the inevitability of suffering.
Saying yes even to suffering.
Transforming it into strength. This artist of life actively shapes their experiences, even their pain, their mistakes, into a coherent, self-authored narrative, continually striving to overcome their current self, creating new, life-affirming values rather than just passively accepting the old ones.
A relentless, almost joyful self-mastery.
That's it. Joyful, even in pain.
He painted this vivid, almost poetic image in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, didn't he? Declaring, man is a rope stretched between the animal and the overman.
Yes, the rope over the abyss.
And this rope, he adds, trembles over an abyss. It's such a precarious, terrifying, yet utterly exhilarating position to be in, suspended between what we were and what we might become.
With a dizzying potential for creation or destruction right beneath us.
Yeah.
And most people, he argued, prefer the comfortable safety of the herd. Seeking solace in familiar morality, established norms, avoiding the dizzying heights of individual responsibility, the frightening freedom of self-creation.
The easy path.
But Nietzsche called for a daring, almost vertical jump across that abyss, to risk everything, to endure profound solitudes, to stand absolutely unbroken without any external support, without the crutches of inherited faith or societal expectation.
Crutches.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about an almost radical, uncompromising form of self-reliance, a refusal to delegate meaning to anything outside oneself, a demand for profound internal strength.
So while Dostoevsky looked at that very same abyss and saw freedom leading inexorably to madness and destruction, a corrosive poison for the soul, Nietzsche looked into it and saw it as a profound, glorious challenge, a call to action, to self-overcoming, become stronger than your fear.
What a powerful, almost diametrically opposed contrast, right, in their interpretations of the human condition. One seeking solace, the other demanding courage. It's stark.
Absolutely stark. 4. Dialogue across the chasm. 2 remedies for one pain. Okay, now, let's try to conjure this vivid, almost theatrical scene in our minds.
All right, I'm picturing it.
Night falls, a profound darkness settling over the philosophical landscape, and these 2 monumental figures stand alone on the very edge of the abyss, separated by time, yet united by their shared predicament.
2 solitary figures staring into the void.
On one side, Dostoevsky, his face deeply etched with the suffering of humanity, yet brimming with this immense, overflowing compassion for its plight.
You can almost see the pain and the love there.
On the other, Nietzsche, proud, almost defiant, his eyes sparkling with an almost dangerous intellectual lightning, challenging all that is conventional.
The fire in his eyes.
Both gaze intently down into that same darkness, into the void where old values, old certainties have utterly vanished. In this imagined confrontation, Dostoevsky would declare, you can almost hear his voice resonating with the agony of human freedom. He'd say, man without God cannot bear freedom.
Cannot bear it.
He will inevitably destroy himself, or, in his desperation, turn to destroy others. Only Christ, the ideal of absolute love and profound humility, a profound self-sacrifice, can truly save us from this imminent destruction.
It's such an intensely emotional argument, isn't it? Deeply rooted in his empathy for human suffering, his belief in a redemptive, communal love that transcends individual will.
You feel the weight of his experience behind those words.
Absolutely.
And Nietzsche, with his characteristic force, his directness, he would immediately retort. His voice ringing with this defiant, almost exhilarating energy, crackling with intellectual fire.
I can hear it now.
He'd say, no, God is dead, and he cannot be resurrected. That path is close to us. But this is not an end. It is, in fact, a glorious beginning.
A beginning, not an end.
Man must, by necessity, become the creator himself. The Overman is one who dares to live without the comforting crutches of inherited faith and conventional morality. One who bravely creates values for himself, from the depths of his own will, shaping destiny rather than inheriting it.
His words would carry that raw, almost intoxicating sense of liberation, of self-assertion, a call to monumental individual responsibility.
It's a powerful counter-argument.
But this wasn't a debate meant for one to win, in the conventional sense. It was rather 2 vastly different, yet equally profound and passionately felt, responses to the same fundamental pain.
The same emptiness.
The emptiness, the existential void that engulfs humanity when old truths crumble and disappear. They both recognize the immense, almost unbearable anguish of that transition, the fear that grips the human heart when the world loses its stable meaning.
Exactly. Both of them felt the crushing, suffocating weight of the same problem, that terrifying void into which humanity plunges when its anchors are cut loose.
They saw the same abyss.
But their prescribed medicines, their solutions for this profound spiritual existential malady, they were diametrically opposed, reflecting their fundamentally different interpretations of human nature, human potential, the very source of meaning.
Polar opposites in their prescriptions. For Dostoevsky, the antidote was a profound turn toward humility and unwavering faith, a surrender to a higher loving power.
Surrender.
For Nietzsche, it was an audacious embrace of self-creation and radical creativity, a defiant assertion of the self in the face of meaninglessness.
Assertion.
One essentially said, with this tender plea, become like Christ. The other, with equal conviction and a fierce demand, urged, become the Overman.
Become like Christ, or become the Overman. Wow.
Yeah.
And here's where the tension between their ideas becomes almost palpable, isn't it? Where their intellectual and emotional energies just collide. The question that hangs in the air, echoing across the centuries, is this.
What is it?
What is ultimately more frightening? Too much humility, maybe leading to passivity, self-abnegation, a lack of individual agency.
The danger of becoming too small.
Or too much pride, risking isolation, hubris, a dangerous self-absorption.
The danger of becoming monstrous.
It's a question that forces us, you, the listener, to examine your own values, your own limits, the delicate balance of the human spirit. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
A profound question indeed. V, the collision point. Yeah. Characters as embodiments.
When you delve into Dostoevsky and Nietzsche together, especially looking at their characters, you really get the sense that their philosophical ideals, their warnings, they could almost meet in some shared dreamscape.
Like their characters could actually argue with each other.
Exactly, vividly illustrating their intense, fundamental philosophical clash in human form. These aren't just abstract ideas to them. They live and breathe. They suffer and strive through these profound creations.
Absolutely. Consider Stavrogin from Dostoevsky's Demons.
Ah, Stavrogin, a haunting figure.
Isn't he? He's presented as a man utterly without faith, without any internal anchor, adrift in a sea of his own making.
Lost.
He possesses immense strength, this almost hypnotic charisma, a relentless thirst for power, for sensation. Yet all of it, for Dostoevsky, ultimately dissolves into a cold, terrifying nothingness.
The void consumes him.
He seeks pleasure. He manipulates and plays with the lives of others with this casual cruelty. But tragically, he remains profoundly alone in that void, a spiritual wasteland, ultimately taking his own life. Dostoevsky shows us the raw, visceral outcome of boundless freedom, devoid of internal moral constraint.
So this is Dostoevsky's dark, almost prophetic warning made flesh, right? What happens, what truly catastrophic, soul-destroying consequences unfold when a powerful, capable individual possesses no moral or spiritual compass whatsoever?
It's a chilling vision of inner dissolution, a terrifying premonition of nihilism that feels incredibly relevant even today.
It really does.
Now contrast that profoundly with Nietzsche's hero, Zarathustra.
Okay, Zarathustra, very different energy.
Completely different. He is also solitary, yes, but his solitude is of an entirely different, almost opposite kind. He retreats to the majestic mountains, not out of despair, not to escape the world's problems.
No, he goes there for a reason.
But rather to become a visionary teacher of a new, higher humanity. He doesn't call for destruction or withdrawal, but for courageous, radical creation.
Creation, not destruction.
His solitude is a forge, not a prison. A place where he sculpts his ideas, his will, preparing to bring forth new values into the world. His message is a passionate, life-affirming call.
A call to build something new.
Exactly.
And then there's the unforgettable Ivan Karamazov, another one of Dostoevsky's brilliant, tortured creations. A mind both searingly intelligent and profoundly anguished.
Ivan, yeah.
So his infamous line, delivered not with joy, but with this chilling intellectual certainty, is, if God does not exist, everything is permitted.
Everything is permitted. Haunting words.
But for Ivan, this isn't a joyous declaration of freedom, is it? It's a statement of profound existential horror. Freedom, for Ivan, becomes a corrosive poison.
Back to the poison.
Systematically destroying his reason precisely because he cannot accept a world devoid of God, a world without ultimate moral constraints where every act is equally meaningless. It's a deeply emotional struggle born of intellectual certainty that tragically leads to terror and madness, a true spiritual breakdown.
And Nietzsche, Erbe the provocateur, would respond to Ivan's anguished cry with a dramatically different interpretation, a vibrant, almost intoxicating counter-declaration.
What would Nietzsche say?
I'd say, if God is dead, everything is just beginning.
Beginning, not permitted, but beginning.
For him, this freedom isn't a poison that incapacitates. It's an intoxicating, life-affirming wine. It burns, yes, it makes you dizzy with its possibilities, but it makes you profoundly, intensely alive, awake to the world in all its raw, chaotic beauty. And this compels us to ask, is there a fundamental, almost biological difference in how they perceive, how they feel the very act of being free?
Is it an agonizing burden to be shed or an exhilarating challenge to be embraced with every fiber of one's being?
Exactly. How does freedom feel?
And here, at this precise point, is their very collision, the dramatic nexus of their philosophies.
The collision point.
In Dostoevsky's world, without God, man crumbles. He descends into chaos, self-destruction, devoured by the fire of his own unbridled will.
Consumed by the fire.
In Nietzsche's world, man rises. He ascends to create a new self, a new world, illuminated by that same fire.
Illuminated by it.
But in both cases, freedom is undeniably a fire, a force of immense, untamed power. For some, it tragically consumes, leaving only ashes. For others, it illuminates the path forward, burning brightly with possibility, warming the spirit to new creation.
Fire that destroys or fire that creates, that seems to be the core difference. 6. Philosophies of life, freedom, meaning, and suffering.
They are like two mirrors, aren't they? These two philosophers, reflecting the same raw, unvarnished human condition, examining the same existential truth.
But the reflections are so different.
Vastly different, almost inverted images appearing. They show us two fundamental, deeply emotional ways of being in the world, two responses to the universal human questions.
Absolutely. For Dostoevsky, freedom is an immense, almost insupportable burden, a trial that few can withstand without spiritual guidance.
He saw it firsthand.
He witnessed, with a harrowing clarity born of personal suffering, how humanity, left adrift without God, without a transcendent moral compass, tragically turned this freedom into self-destruction, into rampant crime, or into the ravages of madness.
Freedom wasn't a party for him.
Not at all. For him, freedom isn't a cause for celebration. It is a terrifying spiritual trial, a test of the soul's capacity for love and humility. He believed that only Christ, as the ultimate image of absolute love and profound sacrifice, could give this dangerous freedom meaning.
Through love and sacrifice.
Not through power, not through glory, not through fleeting pleasure, but through the profound transformative power of love and humility, a giving of oneself. His ideal, therefore, is not a triumphant Superman, but a perfected man.
The perfected man.
One who lives for and gives himself entirely to others, embracing their suffering as his own.
It's a profoundly communal vision.
Very much so.
For Nietzsche, however, it's quite the opposite, as we've seen. Freedom isn't a burden to be endured.
No, it's the challenge.
It's the ultimate, most exhilarating challenge. If God is truly gone, then all the ready-made answers, all the preordained paths disappear completely, leaving this vast, open landscape, a blank canvas for human creativity.
Terrifying, but also liberating.
In this new world, humanity must now courageously create its own meaning, its own values, from nothing but its own will, its own inner fire.
No more crutches.
No more crutches, no more external shoulds or musts. There is only your own inherent strength, your own unyielding will to power, to create, to become.
So what does this boil down to for the individual?
Total responsibility.
Total, breathtaking, terrifying self-responsibility.
And his Overman is precisely that individual. One who doesn't flee from the existential void, but rather laughs in its face, defiantly affirming life in all its chaotic glory, transforming terror into triumph.
The dancer of chaos.
They are the one who transforms the inherent chaos of their life, all its disorder and randomness, into a magnificent, self-orchestrated dance, a work of art. This isn't passive acceptance of fate.
No, it's active. It's an incredibly active, even aggressive embrace of existence, a relentless drive for self-overcoming, self-creation, an ecstatic affirmation of life itself.
Ecstatic affirmation, I like that.
It captures his energy, I think.
Both philosophers, though, despite their vastly different prescriptions, they don't promise an easy road, do they?
Not at all, far from it.
In fact, they fundamentally agree on one crucial point, a shared recognition of human experience, suffering. Suffering in this human journey is absolutely inevitable.
It's a given, a constant companion, no escaping it.
So how do they tell us to deal with it?
Well, Dostoevsky says, with his profound sense of spiritual journey, the path is through suffering to humility.
Suffering leads to humility.
For him, suffering leads to a deeper repentance, a spiritual purification, and ultimately a profound connection with others through shared pain. It breaks down the ego.
Connection through shared pain.
Nietzsche, with his own fiercely individualistic stance, says something very different. The path is through suffering to overcoming.
Suffering leads to overcoming.
For him, suffering is a forge, a catalyst leading not to repentance, but to greatness, to a stronger, more resilient self, a self capable of enduring and creating. It builds strength.
Two different transformations of the same thing.
Exactly.
And here perhaps lies the greatest truth that binds their contrasting visions, a truth that echoes within each of us. Suffering cannot be killed.
Can't eliminate it.
It will always exist as an undeniable part of the human condition. The question then is only this, and it demands a profound personal answer from you, the listener.
The core question.
For the sake of what do we endure it? What meaning do we ascribe to our pain, to our struggles, to the inevitable hardships of life? Why suffer?
A question everyone has to answer for themselves ultimately. 7. Our modern crossroads. Echoes of the past.
Look around you today, right now. We are once again living in an era where old gods are dying, And perhaps, in some ways, it's even more complex than in their time.
It feels that way sometimes.
And it's not just traditional religion anymore that's fracturing, is it?
No, it's broader now.
It's also the unshakable faith, maybe, in political ideologies to solve everything. The absolute belief in science as the sole arbiter of truth, a cure-all for every ill. The unwavering conviction in perpetual progress as an inherent good.
All these big narratives.
All of it seems to be cracking, crumbling, showing its limitations, and leaving humanity feeling increasingly, profoundly alone, unmoored in this sea of information and uncertainty.
Yeah, adrift. And our modern world, ironically, is just overflowing with freedom.
So much choice.
Never before in history has humanity had so much individual choice. We can change cities, countries, jobs, even through technology and social constructs, arbitrary bodies, our identities.
The possibilities seem endless.
But as this outward freedom relentlessly expands, an internal anxiety often intensifies, doesn't it? Becoming this pervasive hum in the background of our lives.
Definitely feel that.
We're like someone holding a bottomless wallet with infinite purchasing power, yet not knowing what to truly buy, what truly matters, what is worth investing our souls in.
That's a great analogy.
And it compels us to consider for our current moment. Has our capacity for choice vastly outstripped our capacity for finding genuine, lasting meaning?
Are we drowning in options while starving for purpose?
That's the fear, isn't it?
And in this very moment, in the sea of overwhelming choice and underlying anxiety, those two powerful, ancient voices resonate again.
Louder than ever.
Perhaps more urgently, more viscerally than ever before, speaking to the deepest parts of our modern souls.
Dostoevsky's voice whispers, and it's a chillingly prophetic warning for our times, almost a plea. Beware.
Beware.
Without a higher, transcendent meaning, freedom will ultimately destroy you. People, unable to bear the weight of such unmoored liberty, will flee from it.
Flee where?
Into a false comfort of drugs, into the violent certainty of fanaticism, into the numbing embrace of distraction, or, tragically, into suicide.
Wow. It's a stark vision that feels acutely relevant to the crises, the spiritual voids we see unfolding around us daily. Addiction, extremism, meaninglessness.
He saw it coming, perhaps.
But then, Nietzsche's voice calls out. Sharp and invigorating. A clarion call to action.
The countercall.
Do not be afraid. This is not a curse. This is your chance, your magnificent opportunity to rise above.
Embrace the chaos.
Build your own yes, your own affirmation of life from the very depths of your being. Create values that do not yet exist, values forged in the crucible of your own strength, your own experience.
Don't look for them. Create them.
Dare to be a creator, to sculpt your own destiny, to make your life a work of art. It's an empowering yet undeniably daunting challenge. It demands everything from you, a true act of will.
A huge demand. And you, the listener, you stand between them. As if at a profound crossroads with these two towering intellects offering diametrically opposed paths, each with its own profound implications.
Two paths diverge.
You can follow Dostoevsky seeking support and solace in faith, in the wisdom of tradition, in the redemptive power of love and sacrifice, finding meaning and connection beyond the self.
The path of humility and love.
Or you can follow Nietzsche, taking the immense risk, embracing radical responsibility, and becoming the audacious creator of your own destiny, forging meaning from the void with fierce self-reliance.
The path of audacity and creation.
Or perhaps you can get stuck perpetually in the middle, suspended in eternal doubt, paralyzed by the enormity of the choice, unable to move forward or backward.
And that, perhaps, is the most dangerous path of all. A kind of living limbo where neither meaning nor self-creation can truly flourish, where the fire of freedom merely flickers and dies out.
A terrifying thought in itself. Outro.
If we were to try and distill their monumental, clashing ideas into enduring images, what would they be? Dostoevsky's would undoubtedly be the cross, wouldn't it?
The cross, yes, absolutely.
A symbol of profound suffering, yes, but also of boundless sacrificial love. Of humility in the face of the world's pain. It's a symbol that humanity, in his view, is saved not by strength or domination.
No, not by power.
But by humility and self-giving. By embracing the burden of compassion. His ideal isn't a heroic titan who conquers the world, but a humble, righteous person who endures the inherent evil of the world and with almost miraculous grace responds to it with unwavering good.
Transforming suffering through love. That's the heart of it.
Exactly.
Nietzsche's symbol, though, by powerful contrast, would be the lightning.
Lightning, I like that.
A blinding, transformative flash that cleaves the very sky and ignites the darkness. revealing new vistas, new possibilities, new meanings to be forged.
Breaking through the clouds.
His hero, the Overman, is not a victim, they are a creator,
Hmm.
a dancer of chaos. They accept pain, embrace its inevitability, but crucially, they transform it to strength, into a catalyst for growth, for self-overcoming.
Using the storm itself.
They do not bow before the cross. Instead, they lift their gaze higher, beyond earthly suffering, maybe to the majestic cosmic dance of the stars, seeking a different kind of transcendence, one born of defiant creation.
Cross and lightning. Humility and audacity. Two profoundly different paths.
But both roads, ultimately, lead through the same abyss, don't they?
They do. The terrifying emptiness left by the collapse of old values, old certainties, the loss of inherited meaning.
They aren't enemies in some petty sense. They're like two master musicians, playing different, sometimes discordant, but ultimately intertwined parts of one grand human symphony.
A symphony of the human condition.
Their debate, their agonizing questions live within each of us. Because sooner or later, each of us confronts that abyss, that moment when our own foundations tremble, when we must choose our response to freedom.
The choice comes for everyone.
And so, we leave you with this thought, this enduring challenge from their profound dialogue, a question that demands your personal engagement. Before each of us stands that same choice, that same daunting chasm of freedom.
What will you do?
What will you do with your freedom when the old truths, the earth comforts, inevitably crumble around you? Will you humble yourself and seek salvation in love, in connection, in sacrifice, as Dostoevsky suggests, with such impassioned empathy for the suffering human heart?
The path of the cross.
Or will you dare to become the creator of new values, to forge your own path, to sculpt your own meaning, as Nietzsche so defiantly challenges us to do?
The path of the lightning. Or perhaps the truth is that humanity is an eternal wanderer, forever caught, forever choosing between the cross and the lightning, and a final, definitive answer will never truly be found, only an ongoing, deeply personal process of becoming.
An internal question.
As you reflect on this deep dive, as you contemplate these monumental ideas and the immense emotional weight they carry, which voice resonates most profoundly, most urgently with you? Where do you find yourself standing?